But Tranell, thanks again so much for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Yeah. I'd love for, I mean, obviously us at Aktify are familiar with Toco Warranty, but I'd love if you could give us a little background on yourself and on Toco itself.
Okay. So yeah, we've been around since 2012 in November. That was when we got our first sale. We started off in Sherman Oaks. Yeah, or sorry, we didn't start off in Sherman Oaks, it was Studio City. We moved around a couple of times, but from Studio City, we grew to Sherman Oaks. From there, we ended up in West Hills, where we're currently located. But what we do is we provide vehicle service contracts for people that are no longer have a factory warranty on their vehicle. So it's typically something people don't really think about. You know, normally when they go to the dealership, it comes with a factory warranty,
Right.
up to 50,000 miles. Sometimes you have a powertrain up to 100,000 miles. And after that point, you know, people forget about it and they have to pay for repairs out of pocket. So that's where Toco comes in. The one thing I'll say about the industry is, you know, there's been companies previously that have done things the wrong way, and that has shaped the way that we do things from learning from their mistakes. And we, you know, are putting the customer first at Toco. So I think it definitely has helped us and guided us to being one of the best companies in the industry. And you know, really, it's not like a sexy product, right? You don't think about going to go buy a vehicle service contract. So I think educating, you know, the consumer on what the product is great. But that's what we do. You know, we like to help people out and save them thousands of dollars from expensive repairs. So I don't know if you guys have any more, you know, contract on your vehicle, but it's definitely helpful. So hopefully that gives you somewhat of background.
No, for sure. It's a huge need.
Yeah.
I know, like, I bought a car new years and years ago, and had no idea when like the warranty that came with it stopped. And no, it's a huge need in the marketplace. And the best businesses aren't the sexy ones, right? It's those necessity products, you know, that that people don't normally think about, but they're heavily needed.
Definitely.
So you've been heading up the marketing side of the business. How has that transformed from, you've been there a long time, so from day one of Tranell at Toco to today, how has that transformation looked like?
It's been great. Actually, I started off in sales. I transitioned to customer care. So I've actually been able to, you know, be on the phone and help the customers out from those moments when they have those breakdowns. And then from there, I got into training. So I've been able to train, you know, sales agents, customer care agents, really anyone that comes to the door. And that has helped me to kind of grow into the marketing side, where now I've been learning, you know, really it's close to 2 years now. So when I started, didn't really have an idea of what, you know, was in the marketing world or how to operate in it. And now, you know, I'm working with vendors on a regular basis to kind of help grow our business and put us in a good situation. So during that span, you know, we've had outside help, and then now we've kind of brought it inside with, you know, a few other vendors, obviously. So it's been a transition, and I think it'll continue to change. You know, change is the one constant that we have.
Yeah, no, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. And it's incredibly challenging to get consumer attention these days with, there's so much noise, right? That consumers come across, all the things they can click on, all, you know, all the different channels of advertising they come across. And how do you guys do it? I mean, what kind of lead volume are you doing right now? And how do you generate that attention from these consumers?
I think it's really about the education. Again, you know, this is a product that's really an afterthought for people. Auto insurance, right? Something you have to have. So it's, you know, it's more prevalent than having an extended service contract. And it's funny, we can't even say warranty, right? Because we don't manufacture the vehicles. So that's, it's kind of crazy. But it's those little intricacies that you have to understand. But in terms of volume, you know, it's taken, how do I say, it has its ups and downs, especially during COVID. The tracking has somewhat been off for Facebook, Google. So, you know, it's really kind of figuring out new ways to gauge that traffic and see if your campaigns are effective. But I really think it comes down to education at the end of the day.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you leverage third-party lead sources as well as you know, traffic to your website and your Facebook campaigns, or a combination of the two?
I mean, you definitely have to. There's also, you know, one thing that helps us as well is, again, we put the customer first. And that translates into obviously them coming back to you, but they also tell their friends about you. So, you know, referrals are huge for us. And I think that is only an important, you know, it only starts to take place when you put the customer first. And I think that's helped us to kind of generate that extra volume that we're looking for without really having to pay for it. So.
Right. Well, and they say, the best product and the best service is the best marketing there is, right? Getting the
Yeah,
customers
exactly.
to tell their friends and everything like that. And obviously getting that demand is just the beginning of the battle, right? So you generate the leads, but what's the
Yeah.
lead process like, and how has that changed over time to make that easier for your salespeople to actually close and win the deals?
I think it comes with making sure that you're getting accurate information, right? There's a lot of stuff going on right now in our industry specifically. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen the memes about it. But robocalls, it's killing the consumer experience. I actually get calls all the time from different companies that are robocalls. So I think getting the correct information, but also making sure we can educate them, even if it's not on the phone, right? We have to send them out emails just to make sure that they know that we've gotten their request. And then from there, we will reach out, leave voicemails, obviously. And then once we get in contact with them, that's when the process really starts. So I think we are trying to leverage more of the e-commerce side of things, but that's going to take time, obviously, to grow. So right now, it's really just our sales team that is able to educate the customer and give them something that they need, right? We don't really try and put someone into a plan that doesn't work for them. If they have a factory warranty, we're not going to sell you a contract, right? Because you're still paying for that already. So just wait. Once you're done, come to us, and then we'll be able to help you through the process. So I think that helps.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I think you're the most qualified for this within the Toco Warranty team, is you've been, selling, right? And then you've been on the customer care side. And so what needs not only the Toco customers have, but your team internally had, all the moving parts you have experience with, which is awesome. Something a challenge that we see not only in auto warranty, but across all consumer sales in general, is this legal side of things. So before you even reach out to that lead in the generation process, there's the consent and legal requirements. What does that look like, and how has that changed through your time at Toco Warranty?
I think for the most part, we've always had a legal team that's been aware of the legalities and made sure that our landing pages are up to speed, because we definitely don't, being bombarded with emails is obviously not fun. Being bombarded with calls and you don't know where they're coming from is not fun either. So we definitely pay attention to the rules that are in place in terms of, when we can call someone on the East Coast, right, versus when we can call someone in California. So we have to be hyper aware of these things, making sure that our agents are able to attain that information just at a glance. So knowing what state they're from or what time zone they're in, I think definitely helps. But making sure our landing pages are up to speed as well, just to make sure we can reach out to them, whether it's text, email, or phone call. So we have to make sure we're prepared for that.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And obviously there's tons of law around TCPA and contacting consumers.
Yes.
But the other thing I found in my experience in many different industries within the call center space is that there's industry specific law. For example, for-profit higher education is extremely regulated. I spent a lot of time in the medical space, the diabetic space, and there's not just HIPAA law, but so many things that are specific to Medicare maybe, and then separate from people under the age of 65 getting insurance. And it's just it's completely different across the board. Is there industry specific law in the auto warranty space? I mean, you even mentioned you can't even say warranty on some of these calls. What are some industry specific regulation you've come across?
I mean, there's number one, just being PCI compliant. Obviously, we're talking to people over the phone, and now during this transition through COVID, we were working remotely. So that's one thing we have to take into account to make sure we're PCI compliant and not taking down customers' information, that it's secure in the system, obviously. So we want to make sure that our consumer is safe pretty much anytime that they're working with us. Even outside of that, customers' information that we gather and we maybe aren't able to enroll them, we still make sure that data is secure as well. We have been wanting to start texting our customers. And so we changed it, I think January 21st, just so whenever we decided to do it, we were actually able to do it. And it just so happened that we got an email from your team, I think it was Griffin, and that was right around April. So we were able to get the leads from January 21st to April, and that was our first testing. And that went really well. So then, ever since then, we've just been sending things over. But it was really just, we knew we were going to do it in the future, and we changed it. But I think that's important, like you said, Brendan. It's helped us in order to be able to be compliant. One of the things we talked about. And yeah, so I think it's important to have it there. And then we did it just at the right time.
Yeah, I was going to say that's amazing timing from the Aktify folks reaching out to you guys right after you got the TCPA compliance for specifically in your legal language. That's amazing.
Yeah, perfect. And there's other, obviously other things that people are probably going to use, like ESPs. So Klaviyo is one, MailChimp obviously a huge one. But for using those services, I know specifically with Klaviyo, they actually have texting features. So it's important to actually have that on, wherever pages you're using to gather that customer information. So, but in terms of the industry specific, I would just say really it comes around selling practices, right? For us, it's making sure that we let our customers know what's in the contract, because there's times where, companies haven't done that and the customer thinks that everything's covered. They go in to file a claim and then find out, it's actually not covered. So I can say from my time in working in customer care all the way through sales and even training, the agents that we have on the floor now, that's something that we push heavily. Again, we've all been in a situation where we've been on a phone to purchase something. And when you're sold something and it's not honest, it's easy to get mad, and frustrated. So I definitely understand where the consumers come from. We do as well. And that's why we go out of our way to educate them. We even reach out, after 5 days and make sure they got their contract. And if they have any questions, to give us a call. And then we also have a 60-day money back guarantee, if it doesn't work out for them. So we definitely go after that.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I had one other question that may be kind of, more for a lawyer, but we can pretend that we're lawyers just for this little segment here. And, it's okay if you're not familiar with this, but I know that this recent change in Florida, a new law that has passed, has created a lot of changes. Are you familiar with that? If not, no worries.
What's the law?
Well, there's many changes, or there's many aspects to the law that bring change to the call center space. But one of them is, not contacting a consumer more than 3 times in a day. And there's a few others. That's probably the biggest one that people have been worried about. I was just wondering if you guys had to make changes for that, or if that's even come up.
No, typically, I mean, you said 3 times in one day? Or 1 time in 3. Yeah, that's actually a lot.
Right.
So yeah, we typically, Florida is its own, like we have our own Florida plan for those specific reasons as well. They do have protections in place for the consumer. So it requires us to actually have a totally different plan for Florida. But in terms of contacting the customer, no, I don't think that needs to change on our end. We typically don't exceed that amount in a day. So
no, and based on what I know about you guys at Toco, I wouldn't imagine that you'd have that high level of touch points. There's, there are call centers that do have to make those changes, but that makes a lot of sense. Based on what you had in place, you probably didn't even have to worry about it. But that makes sense that you have state specific plans, especially for Florida. And there's a handful of other states that, have completely different operations in the software side because the state has its own regulation. And then obviously legal teams focusing on those states and watching them as they make those changes.
Yeah, definitely.
What advice in general do you have for other high volume call centers for them just to be successful in general?
Again, I know I've probably said it like 1,000 times on this call, but I think it's putting the customer first, to be honest with you. And that will help you to understand what it is that you need to continue to learn. For instance, like you said, the laws that have changed, right? Just to make sure you're always in compliance. Because having a call center is different. I think out of all the industries, it's very it's a niche industry, right? But it's also important because that's where a lot of our customer care services come from. So I think making sure your agents are trained, they are empathetic on the phone, to make sure they can take care of the customer and get them a solution. And being able to do that, on one call is probably the most key, right? If they have to call you 2 or 3 times, that's number one, just having them a little bit more frustrated because they have to keep calling you to get an answer versus having all the answers they need and not really having to reach out to you, but knowing that you're there.
Yeah, makes sense. Love it. Well, Tranell, thanks again for taking the time to jump on and you're doing big things over at Toco. Thanks for sharing some of that knowledge with the rest of the world.
No, yeah, definitely. And working with you guys, I do want to say, it's helped us as well to really give our agents on the phone more time. And there's, data behind it. Even the way you guys choose the name, I think is great. And so we've really enjoyed, working with you all. So being able to give back and help people understand what we're doing, but also about the industry and just being able to continue learning. So thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. Thank you, Tranell.
All right, guys.